Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Wookiee's Oldies but Goodies. Today, boys and girls, we're talking about a game that is very, very close to my heart. In fact, I would say that, other than Dragon Age Origins, no other game is this close to my heart. You're probably wondering why. Well, we'll get to that in just a bit, dear viewer. For now, just sit back, relax, and listen to your old pal Wookiee regale you with the details of the game known as Neverwinter. Though certainly not the longest in video game development history, Neverwinter has a slightly complex history. For starters, at one point this game was being developed by Atari. Yes, that's right, Atari. The same company that brought you the world-famous 2600 were now developing a modern RPG, which is pretty crazy to think about. Another interesting fact is that, believe it or not, this game was first planned to be a cooperative multiplayer game, not an MMO like we know it today. I wonder what that would have looked like. Maybe something like a cooperative Dragon Age or cooperative Elder Scrolls Skyrim. It would have been pretty cool. Neverwinter was announced in the summer of 2010 and was initially scheduled for a late 2011 release. A massive multimedia event was to coincide alongside the release of the game, including 4 books, a board game, and a unique Dungeons & Dragons campaign to promote the launch. Sounds pretty epic, right? Well, despite a strong showing at the E3 2011, things started to go downhill. The development studio behind Neverwinter, Cryptic Studios, were acquired by another studio, Perfect World Entertainment. While this was going down, Atari behind the scenes was going through a lawsuit about the Dungeons & Dragons license for Neverwinter. Spoiler alert, they didn't win. They lost. Perfect World would snatch up the Dungeons & Dragons license as well and took over full control over the development of Neverwinter. Original release dates were pushed back to better polish and improve the in-game world. Around this time as well, it was decided that Neverwinter would shift from being a cooperative multiplayer to becoming a free-to-play MMORPG. So despite the turbulence, things worked out pretty well, I'd say. Leading up to its release in June 2013, a viral marketing campaign was launched by Perfect World called The Siege of Neverwinter, showcasing the story to gain as much exposure as possible. The game was featured at several gaming conventions as well, including Gamescom, Gen Con, and PAX East, where they were awarded Best in Show by MMORPG.com. That's pretty cool. After an open beta in April 2013, Neverwinter was finally launched on June 20th, 2013 on PC, and Neverwinter would eventually land on consoles, starting in 2015 with a release on the Xbox One, and in 2016 on the PlayStation 4. Fun facts! In June 2018, Cryptic Studios announced that over the course of 5 years, the near 18 million players amounted to 775 times the population of the city of Neverwinter itself. Players had died 202 million times. Wow! The deadliest dungeon is the Temple of Lostmoth. The most popular race is humans, followed by tieflings. Oh, that's... no. Ew. Ew. No. The most popular class was Great Weapon Fighter, followed by Trickster Rogue and Hunter Ranger. And 63 million monsters have been killed, including more than 6.5 million dragons. The story of Neverwinter goes as follows. A terrifying new foe, the evil Lich Queen Valindra, and her massive skeletal dragon have attacked the city of Neverwinter. It just so happens our heroic main character was on a boat heading into the same city when it was attacked. Your boat capsizes and you end up washing up on shore as the battle rages on. What an awkward boat trip. You fight your way through hordes of undead and you make your way to a location called the Sleeping Dragon Bridge. There you encounter the first boss battle, a giant hulking behemoth called the Harbinger. After you defeat him, you finally enter the city of Neverwinter. Upon entering this beautiful yet mysterious city, you meet up with Sergeant Knox, who serves as a very important quest giver in the story, as he represents the city's army and serves as a liaison to the ruler of Neverwinter. He grants you the title of Hero of Sleeping Dragon Bridge for your efforts in defeating the Harbinger. From there, the story unfolds based on the will and aspirations of the player. Being an MMORPG, there are literally hundreds of plot lines, characters to meet, areas to explore, and countless amounts of quests for you to do. You're the hero. You're called upon to fix just about everything. There is no shortage of adventure in this game, and each adventure will bring you to learn more about the world and the people living in it. That's what's awesome about this sort of game. No one person has the same set story. Each player can carve their own path and experience moments differently. How you want to act as the hero is in your hands. Neverwinter, power to the players. In the last episode where I was talking about Sonic Mania, I pointed out that not all the buttons on the controller were used in that game. And my god, this could not be farther from the truth with Neverwinter. At least on PC, you have an entire keyboard to work with, but on an Xbox controller, you only have a set number of buttons to work with. Thankfully, the developers did an amazing and brilliant job adapting all those keybinds over to the controller. You can tell they put a lot of time into making sure console players didn't miss out on the experience. They essentially broke down the controls into two sets. The first set, which is your default setup, allows you to activate your powers, fight enemies, access the inventory, summon your mounts, and other basic mechanics to play. The second set of controls are accessed by pressing LB. This allows you to pretty much access everything else. Messages, settings, guild pages, quest overviews, etc. If you're new to games like this on console, I can see where all this will come off as confusing a bit, but I assure you, the controls are quick to learn, and you'll be off slaying undead monsters in no time. The gameplay is absolutely phenomenal. As with any MMORPG, we start with the character creator. It's not the most extensive character creator I've ever experienced, but for an MMO, it's pretty darn good. Since the whole game is set within the Dungeons & Dragons world, the character creator has several unique races that set it apart from others out there on the market, including my second personal favorite race to play as, the Dragonborn. Dwarves will always be my favorite, will always be my number one. Next up is the combat. Like any good MMORPG, this is where the game truly shines. For starters, Neverwinter offers 8 different classes for you to choose from, allowing for lots of replayability and letting you play in whatever style you like. If you like to play as a healer, you can choose Paladin or Cleric. If you like to straight up swing around swords and deal lots of damage, pick a Barbarian or Rogue. The choice is really up to you. There are several different special events that run throughout the year in Neverwinter. You get to visit distinctive areas and fight unique enemies to earn special gear and items. There's one event in particular that I truly love in Neverwinter, and it is called Day of the Dungeon Master. Essentially, your character gets transported to a giant gaming table surrounded by various NPCs that you met along the way. You then play through a tabletop D&D campaign. Your character is tuned into a miniature/statue in between attacks. The plot/your actions are driven forward by the voice of the table DM, and they even take it as far as to have some of your enemies be giant D20 dice. It's simply amazing and the most fun event I've ever participated in. I would also, while I'm talking about in-game events, like to point out that Neverwinter/Perfect World, Cryptic Studios, they're still doing work on this game and updating it frequently. I think it was at the time of this recording 2 days ago, went on to get all the gameplay footage that I would need for the review, and there was a new event going on. They called it Year of the Ox. It's a week-long event where you can hop on, earn some coins, earn some new mounts, new gear. There was a lot of like fireworks and celebration, like the entire town was basically having a party. It was really cool, and it's really good to see that they're still keeping up with the support for this game. In Neverwinter, all the levels and worlds you can go to are unique and each have their own distinct look, from Protector's Enclave to the Black Lake District to the Well of Dragons and Pirate's Skyhold. I could seriously wander around and play in this world for hours on end. The character models are easily some of the best I've ever seen in an MMO. Incredible amounts of detail, especially when you get into the higher level gear. The designs are just amazing. Then there's the attacks and spell animations, all of which look fantastic, to the point that even today when I play the tabletop version of D&D, I imagine all the attacks and spells looking the way they do in this game. Finally, the mounts. The same thing I said about the gear applies here. They start out looking good, but as you unlock better and better mounts, their design and animation just get better and better. And I love how they went basically full balls to the wall with the mounts, allowing you to use things like gelatinous cubes as mounts. In what other game can you say that you get to ride around in a big cube of gelatin? The sound effects are some of the best I've ever heard. Not just in quality, but quantity as well. Every swing of a weapon, every spell slung, and every step taken sounds absolutely perfect. The spells especially sound incredible, and I often wonder how they pulled it off. Much like with the graphics when I play the tabletop D&D, I often imagine the spells and attacks sounding like they do here. But what further adds to the game is its soundtrack. The music is so good. Much like with the designs, each level has its own distinct music that plays the entire time you're there. And the music seriously sounds like something Danny Elfman or John Williams would have made. Soundtracks have always been one of my favorite things about video games. It, in my mind, is what elevates a good game to a great game. And the soundtrack here does not disappoint. In the beginning of the video, I said that Neverwinter is very special to me. And here's why. I've always been a big fan of RPGs and a minor fan of MMORPGs. I thought they were really cool, but I also always encountered some problems. The main one being that all of the best and coolest ones were on PC, which I've never owned. The one that I always heard the most about and the one that I was always most interested in was World of Warcraft. I would watch videos on YouTube, look up topics about the lore, and spend days being sad that I couldn't play it. That all changed in March of 2015 with the release of Neverwinter on Xbox One. I was so excited. Not only was this based off of the exciting world of D&D, but it also was very similar to World of Warcraft, and I mean that in a very, very good way. I took to Neverwinter like a fish to water. I made multiple characters, one for each class and race. I purchased multiple DLC packs so that I could have some cool mounts and so I could play as the Dragonborn. Needless to say, I spent a lot of time playing the game, but it was mostly by myself. I didn't really have a lot of Xbox friends at the time, so I just kind of chilled and ran solo. That all changed in one random, warm spring evening. I was playing with one of my alternate characters running through the Black Lake encounter. After the other players and I defeated the boss, I received a party invite from someone in the group that I was just playing with. I decided, what the heck, and I joined. We talked and we played for a while, but the next part is important, so pay attention! It's the reason that this game is so special. They tell me about their guild and invite me to join, saying that the guild was part of a wider gaming community. I was very excited. I hadn't been part of a gaming group in quite some time after stepping away from Gears of War 3, which I talked about a few episodes ago. Long story short, I joined up that day, and the rest is history. The community would evolve into what we know today as the Tavern. If it wasn't for this game, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, surrounded by friends and family, alike in a community that I've called home for nearly 6 years. Neverwinter is a fantastic game and easily one of the best MMORPGs out there in gaming, standing right alongside World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, DC Universe Online, and other top-of-the-food chain MMOs. Best of all, Neverwinter is 100% free. Of course, like other free games, they sell some cosmetic items, are like some mounts, some companions, occasionally armor, things like that. But you can play through the whole game without spending even a dime. That to me is where this game shines, as other MMORPGs such as World of Warcraft require a monthly subscription. If you're a fan of MMOs or just getting into the genre, Neverwinter is a great game to start your next adventure at no cost. If you're as fortunate as me, maybe you'll also come across a group and make some lifelong friends along the way. Well, boys and girls, that does it for another episode of Wookiee's Oldies but Goodies. I want to once again thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you all next time. Love, Wookiee.